Great. So good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on financial aid. And it says for college, but really for any post-high school programs that are fee-based. We've got information for financial aid with all those things. This is an overview of what we'll cover today, how financial aid works, estimating your aid, some workshops that are available to help with Cash for College, the types of financial aid, eligibility for both financial aid and the California DREAM Act, otherwise known as CADA, and AB 540, and we'll have some helpful links. I would say here that if you are new to this and you've never seen it before, it's going to feel like a lot of information. Don't be intimidated, and we will record this and it will be posted so that you can watch it at your own speed in your own time, or go back and rewatch portions. And of course, we have resources that are available for you, both your school counseling team and our wonderful financial aid specialist, Vicki Kaler. So please don't feel overwhelmed. I hope you find this information useful today, and we'll go ahead and proceed to the next slide. So part of the biggest news in the arena of financial aid is that there was legislation approved over the summer in the state of California that requires all students in the graduating class of 2023 to either complete the FAFSA or the CADA. Both applications will be available and open online beginning October 1st, 2022, and they are online only. There is no paper and pencil option any longer for these applications. I want to jump into how financial aid works a little bit. There is financial aid available from both our federal and state governments, from educational institutions, and from private organizations. And if you're attending a technical program, often they have their own in-house financial aid as well. It is a source of funding that's available to students that are attending any kind of post-secondary program, and that can include technical schools, vocational training programs, two-year colleges, often referred to as community colleges, and four-year colleges and universities. It can assist in covering some, or in some cases, all of the costs associated with any of those programs. And it comes in the forms of grants, loans, scholarships, and work study programs, which many of us, I know I used work study when I was a college student, and it's a great program. Estimating your financial aid will come through the FAFSA process and what's often referred to as COA, the cost of attendance, and that's how much it will cost you to go to the program you're going to go to. And then the EFC, it refers to the expected family contribution. This is the index number that the college financial aid departments use to figure out how much financial aid you would receive if you were attending their school. And some things that they look at is your taxed and untaxed income, the assets and benefits that you have, the size of your family. That's a very important factor, and also the number of family members who will be attending college or a career or vocational program during that school year. I've often joked with my parents when I'm meeting with them and they're a student about financial aid that it's a great time to go back and get that degree that you wanted or that additional certification, because the more household members that are attending a program, the greater the need, and that can help you increase the amount of money that you'll be able to be eligible for. So the calculation goes something like this. The cost of attendance, the COA, minus the expected family contribution equals your need-based aid, and written as kind of a mathematics expression as the cost of attendance minus EFC is need-based aid. So if you have more need in your household, you may qualify for more money. My favorite program that's out there that's easily accessible to help people with this, they're doing in-person and virtual workshops this year. So check your neighborhood, but it's the Cash for College workshops. And these are free workshops to assist students and parents in completing the FAFSA or the CADA. There are a lot of different dates and times for the different programs, depending on your region or your geographical area. I find that they're most often hosted on local neighborhood high school campuses, but they can be hosted also on college campuses or in other community buildings. So when you have a moment to check this link, I would click on there to see what's available near you or figure out if the virtual works better. In my experience, and I haven't attended a workshop this year yet, but in my experience, when I worked in places that hosted workshops, there was always a $1,000 scholarship that was on the table for any student that attended the workshop. And if there's 30 students in attendance, you have a 1 in 30 chance of getting that $1,000. And that $1,000 can really help a lot in covering your costs, whether it be in materials, tuition, fees, etc. Even in a community college program where you see your lowest expense from out of pocket, that can help with books and health fees and parking fees and things like that. Those costs definitely end up. So I highly, highly recommend these. They're fun, they're accessible, they're really, really patient in guiding people that have never been through the process. And I checked the map and they're literally all over California right now. So it shouldn't be difficult to find one. The next slide. And I want to loop back to the different types of financial aid that are out there. First, grants. This is my favorite source because it's free money. A grant is really a stipend that is offered to a student or a participation in a vocational program that has no strings attached to it. So they do not have to be repaid. They're awarded some by the federal government and some by the state government. We have Cal Grants here in the state of California, and they're really, really a substantial source of financial support for our students in the state of California. The state has committed a lot of resources to making sure they help students out in their post-high school plans and costs. So the college and career school may have their own in-house grants, or private nonprofit organizations very often do have grants that they offer to students who are furthering their education. The federal Pell Grant is the federal grant that our students are eligible for. And then the Cal Grants, there are 3 forms. There's the Cal Grant A that does have a requirement of a minimum 3.0 GPA, Cal Grant B, which has a lower GPA and is often used for 2-year programs or technical programs. Or I'm sorry, the Cal Grant B is based on need. Cal Grant C is for 2-year and technical programs. Loans are often guaranteed loans of some sort, backed by the government in some way. They are money that you borrow and you must pay back with interest. But in my experience, the interest is the lowest interest rate that's out there. So if that's the only opportunity you have to cover your costs of education, it's still a very good source. Scholarships are money that are gifted to you by various organizations and sources and will not need to be repaid in any way, shape, or form. Work-study grants, fantastic program to help students because oftentimes work-study jobs are on campus near your classes. This provides part-time employment to help pay for school expenses, and this is for both undergraduate and graduate students. And other forms of financial aid that can be accessed. Aid for military families, fantastic for those that have served our country, and great way to get your education at a reduced cost. There are aid programs for international study, and there is aid for undocumented or non-resident students through the California DREAM Act. Next slide. When you sit down to complete your FAFSA, and that, I get so used to saying FAFSA as though it's an actual word in the dictionary that I forget that it actually is a series of letters that represent something. So that's the federal, actually, I may mess this up, Melissa, so you might have to federal application for student aid. Is that right? Did I get it?
The free application for federal student aid.
For federal student aid. I've only been saying it for like 25 years. You'd think I'd nail it, but hey, I'm human, right? So there are some steps you're going to want to follow, or some items you're going to want to have ready when you sit down to complete your FAFSA. And this is the step you must do to access most of the forms of aid that we've discussed so far. So you want to create a federal student aid ID. And that's often commonly referred to as your FSA ID. And that can be done now. You don't have to wait for October 1st when the FAFSA opens up. You can do that now. You're going to want to have your social security number available and social security number for parents if they have minor children that are applying. To be on track to finish school at the end of the 22 or 23 school year, so have a diploma or be exiting school via testing. A printed copy of your transcript showing your current grade point average is helpful to have. And this step's more important than you would think. Having a list of colleges or programs that you're interested in or have applied to. Having that list handy allows you to go ahead and enter those agencies or schools in your actual FAFSA application, so that should you decide to attend one of them, your funds can be funneled directly to them. And it's much easier to do it on the front end than to have to circle back later. Having your parents' 2020 tax returns available, so when they start asking financial questions, you'll have the data right there. And then you'll be signing certifying statements in your FAFSA form that show, that you're certifying that the information you have provided is accurate, current, and correct.
Okay. So, as Lisa said, there are a few different types of grants, and one of them being the federal Pell Grant. And this one is awarded to undergraduates. So this would mean our seniors or early graduates who are graduating this year in the 2023 school year and are entering into a four-year college or some type of college as a freshman next year. So, and this is based off of a financial need. So it is based off of that formula that Lisa initially showed between the difference between the cost of attendance for that particular school, as well as the expected family contribution. So also, the amount that a student receives is based off of whether or not they have registered as a full-time student or part-time student. It is free money that typically does not have to be paid back. However, a student should keep in mind that if they were to exit the college that they're at, meaning they're not transferring to another college, they're just completely exiting out of college, or their grades drop below a certain GPA, that it could require them to have to pay back some of that grant money. But typically, the federal Pell Grant is free money. Annually awarded grants can go up to $6,345, but may be subject to change. And a student can receive only for 12 terms, so roughly 6 years. So a student who goes beyond that no longer is eligible for that Pell Grant. The amount awarded is not affected by any other student aid. So if you are receiving scholarships or anything like that, this particular grant is not affected by that. A student must apply every year they're in school, and the eligibility ends once a student has earned a bachelor degree or first-time professional degree. Okay. The other grant that is available, there's actually 3 more that fall under the Cal Grants. Again, this is free money and typically does not have to be paid back, but a student should be aware that if they were to exit college or drop below a certain GPA, they may be required to pay back, or the grant could be pulled. So the 3 grants that are out there is the Cal Grant A, which is for students who fall into the low to mid income status. However, they do have a 3-point high school GPA, and it can be applied to a program that is a BA degree, or can be used for tuition and fees for other possibilities. you definitely, I would say, when you're researching these grants to see if a student qualifies, to look under the further, questions and comments and stuff like that on their website. We will provide you, well, we do provide you with the Cal Grant frequently asked questions. So there is more information out there for individuals to know about these specific grants. The Cal Grant B, again, is for students who fall in that low income status. However, a 2.0 is what this grant requires, and can be applied to a program that is at least 2 academic years in length, resulting in an AA or a BA. Okay, and can include living expenses as well. And then the Cal Grant C is only awarded to students enrolled in an occupational or technical program. So those vocational schools type of programs. Eligibility is based on your FAFSA or CADA responses. Your verified Cal Grant GPA, the type of California colleges you list on your FAFSA, and whether you are a recent high school graduate. So definitely fill out your FAFSA. It is a requirement this year that every student who is planning to graduate or who is on track to graduate this 2023 school year, that they complete their FAFSA, or if they are eligible for the CADA, to complete the CADA. And also your Cal Grant GPA, it will be verified by the school. There was an email sent out to all juniors and seniors, informing them about the Cal Grant GPA verification that the school or myself will do. You have until this Friday, if you decide not to do that, to send me that opt-out letter. Okay, and you can send it through email. Also, without filling out the FAFSA, you will not qualify for any of the Cal Grants or GPA. Filling out the FAFSA will automatically send you information whether or not you qualify for the Cal Grant. Listing a California college, whether it be a 2-year or your UC or Cal State, or even a private school here in California, definitely you want to do, because that will make you eligible. If there's only schools that are out of state that you list, the Cal Grant will not be assigned to you even if you qualify for it. Okay. And just know that the amount varies depending on the type of school listed that you list on your FAFSA. Work studies. As Lisa said, Work Studies is a great program for students who may not have qualified for the Cal Grants or the Pell Grants, but still needs some assistance in earning financial aid to pay for school. So the Federal Work Studies provides part-time jobs while you are enrolled in school. It's available to undergraduates, graduates, and professional students with financial aid needs. It's available to full-time or part-time students. So, and like she said, this definitely, you can find employment on campus. If campus employment is not available, most of the time, a lot of schools have some other relationships with organizations around the school that students can also be placed at. Jobs are typically in civic education and work related to your course of study, if possible. And then the total work study awarded depends on when you apply, the level of financial need, and the school's funding level as well. Hours worked cannot exceed your total federal work studies awarded. So definitely keep an eye on that if this is the type of program that your financial aid results state that you have qualified for, or that your student has qualified for.
Well, and Melissa, I'll jump in here for a second. I worked my way through college the whole way, and often worked 35 to 40 hours a week in a commercial enterprise, always having to juggle my school schedule. And finally, in my senior year, I got a clue and applied for work study. Much easier because you're
Yep.
employed on campus, and whatever department you work for, they will work around your class schedule. Whereas my bosses were always like, yeah, I know you've got class, but you can skip it today. We need you to come in and work, and that's
Yep.
that's the problem. There are a lot of jobs out there that are part-time that you can work while you're going to school, but oftentimes you'll find that those employers are going to put some additional pressure on you to work more hours than you comfortably can with your school
Right.
schedule. Whereas if you have a work study job, they're going to prioritize your school schedule and your academic success around the job. And they pay usually much better than minimum wage, I think.
Right. Right. Okay. Student loans. So student loans are another great way to finance your education. I know there's a lot of negativity on loans, and I completely understand that, but it definitely should not stop you from utilizing it and getting educated through these loans. So the loans are borrowed money, and then they must be paid back, and they are paid back with interest. To apply for a student loan, you do have to complete your free application for federal student aid form, and again, based on your responses and college and career school will the amount that is offered to you will be based off of that. So definitely know that your CSUs, your UCs, they're going to be typically at a lower cost. Well, maybe not your UCs. Your CSUs are typically going to be at a lower cost compared to your UCs and your private schools. So you'll notice how there's an adjustment there. If you were a student who started off at a CSU and then transferred out, your loan may fluctuate once you do that. Okay. You will be required to accept all or part of the loan, but you will also be required to complete an entrance counseling and sign a master promissory note. Also, what I feel like they've added, because I remember I had to do, and that wasn't too long ago, was the exit, the like an exit counseling type of uh, not a webinar, but they want to make sure that they're going to get paid back. So
Well,
you
and they
do have
want to
to,
make sure you understand your
and
obligation, right? Because so
yes,
many
the
students
obligation.
don't.
Yes, yeah. So they do make you, when you first accept your loan, they do require you that you take this counseling session. It's a financial counseling session, and then you sign your mastery promissory note, and then at the end, you also do the exit counseling financial session. Yeah.
And
So
Melissa, do you know if they still, I know I finished my master's in 98, and that was really my last tuition I paid. But at that time I had a grace period of 6 months before I began to repay my loan. Do you know if that's still the current,
that has still been, yep, that's still the
you have
current.
like a grace period before you start?
Correct. And although you have that grace period, interest is still accruing though.
Oh,
So
yeah.
definitely know that. Um, you can always meet with the financial aid officer at the school of interest. So I would say definitely, talk with them, see how you can do that. Um, paying back the loans. I mean, this webinar is for students who are barely going to start college, and so there's no repaying anything, but just know that these type of loans, they are going to have to be repaid back. It is not free money whatsoever. Okay. Scholarships. Scholarships are free money, and you can be linked to scholarships if you do not qualify for grants. And after completing your FAFSA, if you do not qualify for grants, you only qualify for a certain amount of loans. They can definitely The FAFSA will definitely still provide you with possible scholarship opportunities. Schools can definitely provide those scholarship opportunities as well. So indirect scholarships from the college that you're applying to. And then, of course, you have those private organizations that also give some scholarships. So, and these are standards that are set by the scholarship giver or the organization. So definitely every scholarship is completely different. Definitely look into the one that would apply to you. Know that thousands of students are applying for that one scholarship. But if an organization is offering multiple scholarships, take advantage of that and apply to that. Some scholarships can pay for a full a full years of tuition. Other scholarships may only provide a couple $100. Don't detour from those couple $100 ones, because sometimes those couple $100 can make it or break it for you, right? So definitely apply to everything that you feel applies to you as the student or individual, and see what you get. It is a very tedious job to research all of these scholarships, but so definitely start early. For those seniors who are graduating this year, take advantage of your off time. So your fall breaks and your winter breaks, take advantage of those times to review and research as many scholarships as you possibly can. Take advantage during your weekends to do that too. Take a couple hours to do it, because it definitely can take several hours to research scholarships. But at the end, if you apply to them and you get awarded those scholarships, then it's all worth it. So look at that. Make sure you know deadlines, and you get all of your information in as in
That
on
makes
time.
sense. I would also add to that there are a few different websites that you can use that'll help you centralize your scholarship
Yeah.
searches. In addition to the colleges you're going to attend, you can apply to theirs, but using
Yeah.
something like FastWeb or Niche,
Yep.
all of which are linked in our 4-year plan. So if you
Yep.
haven't looked back there lately, hop on over to page 2 and click on those hyperlinks and get those accounts going, because they're very helpful, and it can cut through a lot of the additional work that goes into filing the applications, because you can do
Right.
it all
Right.
digitally, and it helps speed everything up. And it
Yeah.
helps you find, I personally feel like it helps you find more, because things are matching up exactly to your profile. I would also look at parents, perhaps professional organizations. I know my niece got a really nice $5,000 scholarship from the California Beverage Association, because her dad was a restaurant owner and he was a member
Hmm.
of that association. So kind of leave no stone unturned when it comes to the scholarship search process.
Right, right. And with scholarships, they're a little different, right? They're a little different than your grants, your loans, your work studies. So those particular ones typically deal with whether or not you're in need of the financial aid, or you meet a certain GPA, and some scholarships may require that, right? There are some scholarships that do require those things, but others can just simply mean, can simply just you need to be a female or male, and you need to be maybe first time college student in your immediate family. Like simple things like that you can definitely, if you meet those criteria, you can meet. It's not always dependent on your academics or your current situation with your academics. So if you are a 2.0 student
100%.
and you didn't qualify for the other options, look into the scholarships. Don't let that deter you from thinking that you can't get any financial aid or scholarship for your schooling, because you definitely can. Scholarships are offered by different organizations. And they can require whatever it is that they're requiring. And if you fit that requirement or eligibility, go for it. Take the
Yeah.
take the scholarship. So, all right. All right. So we've talked about the free application for federal student aid. That particular federal aid application is for students who can show that they are U.S. citizens, and have an active Social Security card. For those students who are undocumented, you still have the ability to apply for financial aid as well here in California. So you do have to be show or list that you are applying to a California college. And you do have to have a valid or even an expired DACA documentation. You can also be a U visa holder or have a temporary protected status. And the student should be or has to be eligible for under the AB 540, which we'll talk about in just a little bit minute. But it's basically about for non-resident exemption. So but definitely when you are filling out your California Dream Act, if you qualify for this, and know that a student who is filling out the FAFSA and qualifies for the FAFSA cannot fill out the Dream Act. Okay, the Dream Act, the California Dream Act is specifically for those students who are undocumented, okay, and fall under the AB 540. All right, so the AB 540 eligibility. So a student has to at least attend a California high school for 3 or more years or completed coursework equivalent to 3 or more years of high school. The student has to have graduated or will be graduating from a California high school, or at least have passed and have completed and passed the one of the equivalents certificates. So your GED, your Chesapeake, maybe the HiSET or the task. I think that's how it's pronounced, that acronym. And if any of your students have completed that and you don't have the documentation for that, and your student completed that while they were with Excel Academy, you can visit our registrar office online and request for that information. Okay. Third, your student, if they qualify for the AB 540, they will register and enroll into an accredited and qualifying California college or university. So that's going to be your UCs, your Cal States, and some of the private schools that are here in California as well. And then you will need to submit a signed non-resident exemption. And you can request that through, that would be your AB 540 affidavit. So we do have a couple links for the CADA, and you can find this AB 540 affidavit on that website. And so here are the helpful links and websites that will definitely assist you when you are applying for all of these things. Definitely, so your Cal Grant, this is where you're going to get that information, okay, of whether or not you're going to qualify for it. However, again, when you fill out your free application for federal student aid, that is going to automatically tell you whether or not you qualified for the Cal Grant, the Pell Grant, the work studies, or the federal loan. Okay, same thing with the California Dream Act. It will automatically inform you. Now, I know the free application for federal student aid can inform you within seconds from you submitting. The California Dream Act, I don't know if it's that quick in informing students on whether or not they qualified for any of the grants. Okay, but it could take, if not, it definitely within a couple days a student would know. Okay. And lastly, submit your FAFSA and your CADA application as quickly as possible. You do have until March 2nd to submit that application, but and this should say your FAFSA or CADA. But yeah, it is March 2nd, 2023 that you will have to submit these applications. Okay, so if there's any need for assistance, definitely utilize the Cash for College that was that Lisa talked about a few slides ago, or you can, if you still need, after you attend the Cash for College, and you still need some assistance, reach out to Vicki Kaler. She is our FAFSA CADA guru, and she can
Expert.
definitely, yeah, our expert, and she can assist you with completing all that. It is at a first come first basis type of thing. So if this is something that you are interested in, definitely reach out to her as soon as possible. Okay. Any other questions? Lisa and I can definitely help out. If Vicky's calendar is completely full, you can definitely reach out to Lisa and I, and we can assist you as well. Okay.
And
Any?
I would just suggest that people try and, stick as close to the opening window, October 1st, simply because with the grant money, those are funds that have been set aside by the government for student grants, but when they're gone, they're gone. And so we do know statistically, our trainings with the California Aid Commission have told us that the earlier applicants have a better chance at accessing more of the grant money. So I would do early rather than later. And I feel like academically, this isn't the most demanding part of the school year. So maybe you have the bandwidth in October to do it rather than trying to do it at the end of the semester or the beginning of the new semester when your applications have all been done.
Definitely. Another thing I want to add to that is that if you are a student who is applying early action or early decision, definitely you want to know. So if you're applying specifically for early decision, if you're applying for early decision, that means you are bound to accept that acceptance letter, right? If they accept you. However, your one open window to get out of that, or not to get out of it, but that can make it or break it for that, would be your financial, would be your financial aid. So most students are going to want to know whether or not they qualify and how much they qualify for financial aid, and this way they know whether or not to accept that acceptance letter or not. So I would say definitely do complete your FAFSA CADA as quickly as possible. This way you get that information so you know whether or not you're going to be accepting a specific acceptance letter from a school. Okay.
Any questions?
I'm going to go ahead. This ends our presentation. I will go ahead and stop record, but we will stay on if there's any questions.